Imagine this. Friends, let's start with a bold little thought experiment. Let's say yesterday at 6 p.m. on a dot, you watched this total bastard, let's call him Mr. Dickhead, slam his finger down on a send button. And just like that, with one click, your best friend Rachel was completely ruined. Her career, her reputation, all of it gone. You're shaking with rage, wishing you could, but wait. You look down, and in your hand, you're holding the controller for a time machine. Your mission is now crystal clear. Travel back to yesterday at 5:59 p.m., and before Mr. Dickhead can press that damned button, you are going to stop him. A flash of light, and you've done it. You're standing in the office at 5:59 p.m. Mr. Dickhead is right there, his back to you, his finger hovering over the send key, and in your hand, you've somehow picked up a brick. You raise it high. All right, folks, here's our first big question. Can you or can you not bring that brick down on his head? Now, I know what you're thinking. What kind of stupid question is that? Of course I can. And you're not wrong. Physically, you're strong. He's defenseless. You can knock him out, just like you can smash a glass on the table. But hang on. Think about it. Where did you come from? You came from a future where Mr. Dickhead already successfully pressed the button, right? If you knock him out right now, and he doesn't press the button, and your friend Rachel isn't ruined, then where does the you who came back in time come from? If that present you came from ceases to exist, how did you ever travel back in the first place? Suddenly it feels like you can hit him, but you also cannot hit him. You're in this weird limbo, you both did it and you didn't. My friends, this is the big question we're tackling today. Is time travel logically possible? Now, pay attention. This is a philosophy show. We are not talking about physical possibility today. What's physical possibility? It's whether we can actually build the thing, whether it can exist in our physical universe. We're not discussing how hard the machine is to build, and we don't care if it runs better on kerosene or diesel. We can even admit that human civilization might never be able to build one. What we're talking about today is logical possibility. What's that? It's what we call possible in theory. It means there's no logical contradiction. It makes sense on paper. And you gotta understand, the space of logical possibility is huge. Anything that's physically possible is, by definition, also logically possible. But there are tons of things that are physically impossible, but still logically possible. For example, the actress Zendaya is my wife. Hey, it's physically unlikely, but there's no logical contradiction. Our entire universe is a computer simulation. Totally possible, no contradiction there. The guy who makes the Shadow Mythos channel can earn a respectable income. This one might be physically tough, but it must be logically possible, right? All these things make sense in theory. But folks, if something is logically wrong, it can never be physically real. For example, this horse is both a white horse and not a white horse. This bachelor is married. Mr. Smith both arrived and did not arrive. That is a logical contradiction. He and not. They cannot both be true. We don't even need to run an experiment, and we can just declare that is absolutely impossible. All right, lesson's over. Back to time travel. For most people, time travel seems physically sketchy, but logically fine. What's the big deal? If Zendaya can be my wife, why can't I visit the past? Well, there's a catch. Some philosophers argue that time travel, just like a married bachelor, has a fatal, logical contradiction built into its very core. This contradiction is the one, the only, the grandfather paradox. If you're finding this brick paradox even a little bit interesting, if you want to hear how these philosophers get into a full-on brawl over it, well, this content isn't easy to make. Take a second, hit that like and subscribe button. Your support is genuinely the fuel that lets us keep telling these stories. Thanks. Now, where were we? Right. This grandfather paradox, it's even more vicious than our brick paradox. All right, folks, the ring is set. For round one, the challengers Team Time Travel is Impossible are making the first move. And they're coming out swinging with their biggest hit, the grandfather paradox. Here's the story. A guy, let's call him Mr. Smith, decides his life is so miserable that he just shouldn't exist. So he gets in his time machine, travels back, and finds his own grandfather as a young man. The plan? Kill Grandpa. Because if Grandpa dies, his mom is never born. If his mom is never born, he, Mr. Smith, is never born. Okay, problem. If Mr. Smith is never born, then who travels back in time to kill his grandfather? Well, no one. So his grandfather doesn't die, which means his mom is born, which means Mr. Smith is born. You see the loop? He both came into the world and didn't come into the world. He exists and he doesn't exist. It's a fundamental contradiction. So Team Impossible comes out strong. They lay out this argument as a formal, ironclad, three-step takedown. Premise 1. If time travel is possible, then you can travel back and kill your grandfather. This is can in the logical sense, just like you can smash a glass. Premise 2. You cannot actually change the past and kill your grandfather. Because, as we just saw, that creates a he exists and doesn't exist contradiction. You'd break logic. Conclusion 1. From 1 and 2. Therefore, if time travel is possible, you both can and cannot kill your grandfather. Premise 3. A person cannot both be able to and not be able to kill their grandfather. That's the law of non-contradiction. Something can't be A and not A at the same time. Final conclusion. Therefore, time travel is quite simply impossible. Wow. That's a hell of a combo. Team Time Travel is Possible is on the ropes. The logic seems flawless. How do you even begin to argue with that? But just then, a champion steps up for Team Possible. The American philosopher, David Lewis. Lewis is a logical wizard. He adjusts his glasses and says, hold on. You guys on Team Impossible, don't try to pull these cheap shots on me. We have to admit, Lewis says, your premise too. You cannot change the past. That's an iron law. Nobody disagrees. If you change it, you get a contradiction. We on Team Possible accept that. But, and here's the turn, your premise 3, where you say a person cannot both be able to and not be able to do something. Now that is where things get interesting. Team Impossible just scoffs. What's interesting about it? Can and cannot is a contradiction. Lewis just smiles. Let me ask you a question. You had KFC for lunch today, correct? Yeah. So let me ask you, Lewis says. Today at noon, can you eat McDonald's? Well, that's a weird question. Lewis very calmly begins to explain. On the one hand, we can absolutely say you can eat McDonald's. Why? Because you like it, there's McDonald's right next to the KFC, and you've got money in your pocket. You are completely capable of eating McDonald's. But on the other hand, he continues, we can also say just as correctly that you cannot eat McDonald's. Why? Because we all know you already ate KFC. And assuming you can only eat one lunch, your stomach capacity is limited. Therefore, given the fact that you already ate KFC, you cannot also eat McDonald's. So, ladies and gentlemen, look at this, Lewis says, holding up his hands. The statement, you both can and cannot eat McDonald's for lunch today. Is that a logical contradiction? No, of course not. Whether you can or cannot do something depends entirely on which set of facts we're using as our standard. When we say you can eat MCDs, we're talking about the facts of the store is there, you like the food. When we say you cannot eat MCDs, we're talking about the facts of your stomach is full, you already ate. So what you can do is relative to the context. All right, back to the grandfather paradox. Lewis says it's the exact same thing. Mr. Smith travels back. Can he or can he not kill his grandfather? The answer is he both can and cannot. When we say he can kill Grandpa, we're talking about the facts of he has the intent, he has a gun, he has the physical ability. In that context, he absolutely can. But that statement, he can kill Grandpa, is incompatible with another set of facts. What facts? The facts that Mr. Smith was born of his grandfather's line, his grandfather was not killed by him, and he's standing right here, alive and well. So in that context, he cannot kill his grandfather. So you see, Lewis concludes can and cannot isn't a contradiction at all. Your premise 3 is busted. Wow. With one elegant Tai Chi push of logic, Team Possible just dissolved the grandfather paradox. But Team Impossible is, well, they're furious. You, Lewis, stop playing these word games. Even if we accept your slick can and cannot talk, you still have to explain something. If you insist he can do it, he has the gun, he has the intent, then why? Why, in the end, didn't he do it? You have to have a reason for that. Haha. Now that question has backed Louis into an even deeper corner. And his answer is what gives Team Impossible their next perfect opening. The entire Impossible team is on its feet. You, Lewis, you slippery bastard. Stop playing these word games. This is just a cheap debater's trick. Fine. We'll give you your stupid can and cannot premise. But you still have to explain this to us. A man with a gun and a clear intent travels to the past. You insist he can kill his target. Then why? Why did he fail? You have to give us a reason. So, folks, what do you think David Lewis's answer was? Lewis pushes his glasses up and says slowly, well, about that, it was just a complete accident. The thing is, it was just a really, really crazy coincidence. Team Impossible is stunned. A coincidence? That's right, says Lewis. Every single time he was about to do it, some random bizarre thing just happened and stopped him. For example, he pulls out his gun, aims. Oh, the gun jammed. He pulls out a knife, lunges. Whoops, slipped on a banana peel. Flat on his back. He gets up, tries to strangle him. Bam! A flower pot falls from a window and knocks him cold. And even if he dodges the flower pot, a bolt of lightning strikes. He dodges again. Zap, 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 zap. Oh, you didn't see that coming, did you? It's a 5-hit lightning combo. Lewis just shrugs. The point is, some random coincidence will always pop up. It makes it so the person who can kill his grandfather, in the end, cannot kill his grandfather. See? And cannot. No logical contradiction. This time, Team Impossible completely loses it. Coincidence? You call that a coincidence? You are treating the entire universe like a joke. At this point, another champion for Team Impossible stands up. The British philosopher Paul Horwich. Horwich slams his hand on the table. Lewis, that explanation is just bizarre. Ladies and gentlemen, Horwich says, turning to the audience, let me tell you a story, and you tell me if this sounds like coincidence. Let's say, day 1, you see your girlfriend and your best buddy are wearing the exact same shirt. What do you think? They're matching. That's a coincidence. But then, day 2, you notice they're wearing the exact same pants. Day 3, you see they have the exact same bracelet. Day 4, you realize they're wearing the exact same cologne. Day 5, you hear they both checked in to the exact same hotel room. Horwich stares at the audience. At this point, folks, if you were still calling this a coincidence, then you are in serious denial. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Horwich's point is this: when two events, A and B, happen together once, it might be a coincidence. But if they happen together all the time, once, twice, 1,000 times, then it is almost certainly not a coincidence. There must be a causal relationship. Okay, now, back to the grandfather paradox. Horwich says, Lewis, according to your theory, we have two events. Event A, the time traveler tries to kill his grandfather. Event B, a coincidence, a banana peel, a lightning combo, appears and stops him. According to you, every time event A happens, event B must happen. Once or twice, fine. But 1,000 times? Every single attempt? You still dare to call that a coincidence? No. There must be a causal link. But, and this is the killer blow, here's the problem. Your intent to kill, event A, and a banana peel randomly appearing, event B. There is no possible causal relationship between these two things. Think about it. 1. Did your intent to kill somehow cause the banana peel to materialize on the floor? Of course not. 2. Do these two events have a common cause? Like the cheating in our other story? No. There is no third thing that both causes you to want to kill your grandpa and causes a banana peel to be right there. So Horwich and Team Impossible launched their second round offensive. This one is called the coincidence argument. Premise 1. If time travel is possible, according to Lewis' model, we will see two events, A and B, that have no causal link, constantly and repeatedly happening together. Premise 2. In our universe, this kind of bizarre, constant, acausal coincidence is impossible. It's absurd. Conclusion. Therefore, time travel is impossible. Oof. That is a nasty, nasty hit. Team Impossible has backed them into a corner. Lewis's theory either has to accept a logical contradiction, round 1, or it has to accept a bizarre, spooky, acausal universe full of magic coincidences. They've basically given Team Possible a choice. Are you illogical, or are you just plain crazy? So, facing this universe-sized accusation of weirdness, how can Team Possible possibly respond? Well, folks, this next round is where it really gets good. All right, folks, welcome back. So that second round coincidence argument from Team Impossible, that was a killer. Did you, Lewis? I think possible you're trying to patch the paradox with coincidences? Fine. We're going to prove that your coincidences are themselves a logical absurdity. Team Possible they're truly on the ropes. They have to explain these bizarre coincidences. So they send out two lines of defense. The first line of defense comes from an Australian philosopher, Nicholas Smith. Smith says, Mr. Horwich, your cheating girlfriend story was very colorful, but your premise too, the one that says two unrelated events can't just keep happening together, that premise is the one that's weak. Team Impossible is shocked. Weak? It's common sense. Show me one example where it's false. Smith says, I can't. I admit, in our world we've never seen that happen. But just because we've never seen it doesn't mean it's logically impossible. Your premise, Smith argues, is just an empirical generalization, a guess based on experience. It's not a logical necessity. Who knows? Maybe if time travel were real, then causally unrelated things would just happen together all the time. And besides, Smith adds, laying down his key card, we have one very special reason to believe we will see these coincidences. What is that reason? You are still alive. The fact that you exist proves your grandfather didn't die. That's the hard evidence. And because you are alive, we have every reason to believe that no matter what you try to do, you will be stopped by some coincidence. It's logically sound. Now, that's a decent counter, but Team Impossible shoots right back. That only explains why we should believe the coincidence will happen. It still doesn't explain why the banana peel is there. It has to have a cause. And that's when David Lewis stands up again. Everyone, Lewis says, you on Team Impossible, you keep demanding a causal explanation. You keep asking, what caused the banana peel? And my answer is, we don't need a causal explanation at all. What we need is a logical explanation. You ask, why do you always run into a coincidence that stops you from killing your grandfather? My answer is simple, because the law of non-contradiction exists. Friends, logic is king. Logic is bigger than the universe. It is the source code. Why can't you kill him? Because if you did successfully kill him, it would create a logical contradiction. You both exist and do not exist. So, while you can kill him physically, you have the gun. Logic itself, the fundamental code of reality, makes it so that you are impossible to not fail. It is logic, the law of non-contradiction itself, that demands those coincidences appear to stop you from succeeding. We have already explained it on a logical level. We don't need a causal one. Wow. That is next level. He just elevated logic to the status of God. Team Possible is saying that the universe will literally bend reality. It will spontaneously create a banana peel or summon lightning just to protect its own logical consistency. And Team Impossible is quiet. That explanation, as wild as it sounds, is logically kind of airtight. But they're not done. They immediately spot the next problem. Okay, Lewis, you're clever. We'll give you that, says Team Impossible. We'll grant you your logic is God theory just for a second. But that just leads to another question. If a time traveler is logically fated to fail, if he cannot successfully kill his grandfather, or even successfully smash a cup that was supposed to be whole, then the question is, what can he do? What's the point of going back at all? Now that is the million-dollar question. If you can't change anything, why go? And this is where Team Possible finally reveals their ultimate model of time travel. Who says the traveler can't do anything? They respond. Listen closely. A time traveler cannot change the past, meaning he can't make something that happened unhappen. He can't make something that didn't happen happen. But a time traveler can create the past. In other words, the traveler can be the reason something already happened. Now, if you've seen a sci-fi movie, you know this one. Take Nolan's movie, Tenet. There's a scene where the sidekick, Neil, travels back to save the main character. Now pay attention. It's not, oh no, the main character died. I have to go back and change history to save him. No. Instead, Neil, before he travels back, already knows that the main character survived that fight. It is an established fact of history. It cannot be changed. So why does he still have to go back? Because he is the reason the main character survived in the first place. He must go back to complete the historical loop. This is the model team Possible is proposing. You don't change history, you are history. Okay, folks, let's go back to our brick revenge story. Remember you? At 5:59 p.m. with the brick ready to stop Mr. Dickhead from pressing that button? According to this ultimate model, the story doesn't end with you stopping him. It ends like this. You charge forward, screaming, "Dickhead, stop." He's shocked. He spins around. You two start to grapple, to fight, and your foot, it lands on, the banana peel. You both fall forward onto the desk, and your hand lands directly on top of Mr. Dickhead's hand and helps him press the send button. You were the reason your friend was ruined all along. This model has a name. It's called backward causation. An event from the future, you traveling back, becomes the cause of an event in the past, the button being pressed. The second Team Possible says this. Team Impossible just explodes. What? Backward causation? The future causing the past. Logically, that is 10,000 times more absurd than the coincidence theory. All right, everyone. Nobody leaves. We are moving to our third and final line of attack. Stop. The entire Impossible team is on its feet. Their lead debater, a philosopher named Max Black, is furious. Backward causation? The future causing the past? That is logically 1,000,000 times more ridiculous than magic coincidences. That is fundamentally impossible. All right, folks. We've finally arrived at the last and most brutal round of the debate. Team Impossible's third offensive, the bilking argument. Team Impossible says, okay, Team Possible. You claim a later event, B, like you traveling back, can cause an earlier event, and maybe like the button being pressed. Well, let's say they propose we have this supercomputer. It's so powerful it can predict your next move with 100% accuracy. We're going to play a game. You flip a coin, it predicts the result. Event A happens first. The computer scans you and prints on its screen, heads. It predicts your next flip will be heads. Event B happens second. You pull out a coin, you flip it, and what do you know? It's heads. You try this 3,000 times. It's right every single time. Now, Team Impossible says, pointing at their opponents, according to your backward causation theory, you would say, this is because I was going to flip heads, event B, and that is what caused the computer to predict heads, event B. Right? B causes A. But Team Impossible says, with a cold smirk, that is impossible. Why? Because I can always bilk or cheat this supercomputer. How do I cheat? Watch this. I let the computer make its prediction. Okay, event A has happened. It predicts I will flip heads, dot. Now, it's my turn to flip just before event B. but I'm not going to play fair. I reach into my pocket and I pull out a coin that is double-sided tails. I'm going to pull a fast one. I'm going to cheat this 69 trillion parameter supercomputer. Now I flip it. What's it going to be? It's guaranteed to be tails. So what happens to your heads, event B? It doesn't happen. Or they say, let's go bigger. The computer predicts I will live to be 100 years old, event B. I hear this prediction, event A. I walk right out the door. I pull out my 40-meter-long broadsword and shing. I'm gone. I'm not living to 100. Event B has been canceled. Do you all see? Team Impossible shouts. As long as event A, the prediction, has already happened. I, as a free agent, always have the power to intervene and stop event B, the result, from happening. This is ironclad proof. The occurrence of A does not depend on the occurrence of B. Therefore, B cannot be the cause of A. Backward causation is logically impossible. Okay, that is a checkmate. Team Impossible has laid out their final argument. P1. If time travel is possible, then backward causation is possible. B causes A. That's Team Possible's theory. P2. We can always intervene after A and bilk prevent B from happening. Cheating is possible. P3. If A can happen, but B can be prevented from happening, then B cannot be the cause of A. That's just the definition of causation. C1 from 2-3, therefore, backward causation is impossible. Final C from 1C1, time travel, is impossible. The champion for Team Possible slowly stands up. That was brilliant, the champion says. The bilking argument is truly brilliant. However, in your entire beautiful argument, you have committed one of the oldest fallacies in the book. Your entire argument is a circular argument. Team Impossible is stunned. What? Circular? The champion for Team Possible explains, I have one question for you. Why do you assume you can successfully cheat that supercomputer? Why do you assume that when you pull out your double-sided tails coin, the computer will have failed? I'll tell you why. Because you are, from the very beginning, already assuming that time travel is impossible. You are using the conclusion you want to reach, time travel is impossible, as a premise for your argument. I can successfully cheat. That's just A is true because A is true. Think about it. If we on Team Possible are right, and time travel is possible, then that supercomputer is from the future. It already knows what you're about to do. When you try to pull a fast one and say, hey computer, guess heads or tails, the supercomputer will just laugh. Huh? I've already anticipated your anticipation. Computer voice, my prediction is you are about to pull the double-sided tails coin from your left pocket to try and cheat me. You 69 trillion parameter loser. Don't you see, folks? The champion yells. Because if you did cheat it, that would mean you changed the computer's past, what it knew from the future. And if you did that, you're right back in the grandfather paradox from round one. You're creating a contradiction. You, Team Impossible, in your attempt to disprove backward causation, just fell right back into your own trap. Wow. Okay, folks. This debate, as the philosopher Wittgenstein said, the spade is at bedrock. We've been digging for answers, and we've hit the solid rock of logic. We can't dig any further. The spade is bent. At this point, it's not a debate anymore. It's just a clash of beliefs. Team Impossible says backward causation is impossible. Team Possible says that's just because you're assuming time travel is impossible. Team Impossible says, well, you're just assuming it is possible. Team Possible says, that's right, we are. There's nowhere left to go. So at the end of this epic century-long brawl, who won? Well, let's be honest. Team Impossible, the attackers, was ferocious. Their attacks were incredibly powerful. And Team Possible, the defenders, just to stay alive, just to protect that one tiny spark of logical possibility, they had to retreat. They had to give up ground again and again until they were backed into one tiny little logical box. And what's in that box? It's that final story. You travel back to the past. You have your brick. You want to change history. But you discover that the resistance to change is infinite. You struggle, you fight, you scheme, you pour every ounce of your being into not letting that send button be pressed. And in the end, you slip on that banana peel and you realize all your struggling, all your effort was the very thing that created the history you hated all along. You thought you were the hero coming back to get revenge. It turns out you were just the pawn, sent back by fate to be the tragic accomplice. So folks, now it's your turn. What do you think? Did Team Possible successfully defend their ground? Or is this fatalistic version of time travel, where everything is set in stone and you're just an actor playing a part you already know? Is that so pointless that it doesn't even count as time travel at all? Their arguments are finished. Now it's your turn to speak. Please head down to the comments, cast your vote, and tell us what you think. Thanks for watching this thought experiment / deep dive on Shadow Mythos. We'll see you in the next one.